What is up, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time here on RotoGrinders. It's another Saturday. That means you got the weekend crew here with you, and that is myself, Justin Van Zuden, STL Cardinals 84, will host, taking you up to a strange lock time for most of the Saturday games today, a 4 p.m. Eastern lock time. We've got 8 games all starting at the same time this afternoon, so a little bit of a unique time for us to do a show, but happy to do whatever the schedule calls for on a Saturday. So happy to be with you as always, and to help me out here over the next hour, we've got the usual dual producing hosting roles of our new production member Tim, and our the old guard at this point, TJ, both helping out today. TJ doing the dual role today. TJ, what's up?
Not too much. Ready to dive into the slate. I love any time baseball starts earlier in the day and we don't have to wait for late games at 8 p.m. or my time, 10 p.m. Eastern for the main slate. So looking forward to a bit of an earlier start today. We got beautiful weather outside here in Saskatchewan. It's going to be between 75 and 90 degrees for the next 10 days. So we're going to go spend some time outside after this, and hopefully going to make some money as well.
Outside? What's that? Outside? That sounds scary. But yeah, it's not quite as nice here this weekend, but it's a holiday weekend in the States, so that's always good. A couple of extra days. We got a visitor as well. Always good to have a pooch on the show. What's up? Spacing on the name.
Obi-Wan.
That's right.
We call him Obi.
Oh, he's bored of us already. Giving the big yawn there. Tim, what's going on?
Yeah, not much. Doing well, Justin. It's 50 degrees here in Maine. It is raining. It is awful weather here. We talk about, this early slate, but we don't want to forget about this Baltimore-Boston game that's on the DK slate, which really kind of puts a wrench in things. So, yeah, I mean, that game's going to be kind of tough to navigate because I ran Sims before the show, and I'm getting to a ton of Boston and Baltimore. So, and of course, we're not going to get that lineup until well after all these games lock, because this would have been a sprint slate on DK. But this game is going to be a little bit difficult to navigate.
Yeah, I'm surprised they left that one on there. A lot of times when there's a postponement like there was last night, and it shifts the start time of the game, they'll 86 that from the slate. But they didn't. They've left that one on there for today. And frankly, I'm tired of dealing with the Orioles. If the sports books had a self-exclude button that only allowed me to self-exclude myself from betting on the Orioles, I'd probably click that option, because I'm tired of chasing the Orioles down on a daily basis. But they'll probably get healthy next week when they play the Cardinals, so that'll tilt me even more. But been a rough year for Baltimore. They've got the first game of that doubleheader going now at Fenway, but the second game lineups certainly aren't going to be out too far before that game locks. And that's kind of a game on DK all by itself, a couple hours after all the others start. So we've got 8 games on DraftKings. We've got 7 games on FanDuel. FanDuel is not including that second game of that doubleheader on their slate. In terms of weather, not a whole lot to keep an eye on today. The only one with real concern that Roth has is a yellow-orange for a chance of delay at some point in Colorado. Seems like the game is going to play it, in its entirety. Just a matter of whether or not there's a delay, which could be impactful if you're planning on using Max Fried at Coors today. So we'll get into that as we go. We've tried up a few different things on these weekend shows that, we extend the time a little bit longer. Last Saturday, we tried a game by game and then did a quick position recap at the end. Don't worry, for those of you that like the position by position breakdowns, we're still going to go through those. But that tends to go pretty fast on these, shorter weekend slates with only 8 games available today. So the position by position certainly wouldn't take us a full hour. We found that we have a little bit more free time when we do that. So we're going to try to throw in the tiers discussion of the stacks and stuff today that Dean does so expertly on the weekday shows. TJ is going to put up a graphic for that. We don't know what the tiers are. Only TJ knows what the tiers are, but we'll get to that in just a bit. But before we do that, we'll take a quick look at the pitching on today's slate. Tim, I will throw this to you first. Interesting slate for arms, not a ton of aces today. What are you looking at?
Yeah, definitely not really any aces to be had on the slate. Pretty mediocre day for pitching, in my opinion. I think I got to start with talking about Max Fried at 8,300 on DraftKings. He is 11K on FanDuel. I mean, he's definitely the most talented pitcher on the slate today. He does however, have to pitch in Coors Field. But the good thing is that Colorado offense is so terrible. What makes me nervous about Max Fried is that he's going to be so highly owned. I think we have him right around like 40% right now, maybe even higher. So I mean, it's kind of uncomfortable chalk, but he is the most talented and he's really cheap. So I think that you can play him today. It's just going to be a little bit sketchy. And one of the reasons why you can play him is that we really don't have a lot of really amazing pivots to go to. I think Framber Valdez at 8,900 is completely fine. I think Valdez is probably a cash game pitcher today. If you're playing cash today, I think Valdez is going to be in there. I think he's got a pretty decent matchup. He's been really consistent, in the last couple starts. He's shown a little bit of upside as well. So I think Valdez is probably the quote safest pitcher on the slate, but there's really nobody here that's super safe. And then Brian Wu for 8,700. I do like him today. I think Wu and Fried are kind of like, the candidates as your SP2 for cash. I think I'd probably go Wu Valdez in cash, but it's just super close. In larger field GPPs, Michael King probably has the highest ceiling of any pitcher on the slate. I mean, he does do a good job of getting strikeouts. He just has a really tough matchup, or a pretty tough matchup. And then for punts, I don't mind Lucas Giolito, and I don't mind Jack Leiter at 7,400 going against the awful White Sox.
Yeah, Leiter was supposed to be the next big strikeout guy. The numbers really haven't been there this year, but perhaps a good matchup against the White Sox can get him on track a little bit today. So it will be interesting to see how he does. TJ, what are you looking at for pitchers today?
I did just send a message to Roth, and he said he'll give us a weather update on Coors within the next couple minutes. So we'll check his Twitter for that. I said, I don't want you to tweet it. I want you to text me the secret answers to what we're supposed to be doing so we can talk about it on Crunch Time and keep it to ourselves. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what we see. With that in mind, I think Max Fried, if we can play Coors, is the top pitcher. If we can't, I do really like the idea of, if Roth thinks there's going to be a mid-game delay, just hitting the X button on him today, because there already is some risk of him playing in Coors Field, even though it's a brilliant matchup against the Rockies. I think if there is a delay risk, even if it's like a potential delay risk, I like the idea, if he's going to be the highest owned pitcher on the slate, to just go elsewhere and hope that he ends up getting rained out. Having said that, I do think if we put weather aside, raw points, he is the top option today. I'd probably go next Framber Valdez. After that, Brian Wu. Go Fried, assuming weather isn't a factor. Fried, Valdez, Wu. But in a cash game setting, I agree with Tim. I think I would go Wu, Valdez, and just skip out on Fried, because there's not that big of a difference between the three of them. And with that weather being a risk, I just don't think I would go there. I'm going to fade Michael King. Lots of bats I want to spend up for on the slate, so I don't think I'm going to get up to Michael King in the tough matchup against Atlanta with Acuna back. Now that Acuna is back, I can't imagine I really ever take pitchers against Atlanta. If I need to go cheap, I'll take some shots on Lucas Giolito. I actually don't mind taking some shots on Quinn Priester going up against the horrific Pirates. All you really got to worry about is O'Neal Cruz. Priester and Giolito. Is there anybody else I was taking shots on for cheap options today? Let me just bump back for a second.
Did you mention Leiter?
In the mid-tier, Jack Leiter. I like, just because obviously he's facing the White Sox, and then even though it's a terrible matchup, because nobody's playing him, I'll maybe take a couple shots on Grant Holmes.
Yeah, it feels like Grant Holmes has been chalky like a lot of times that he's pitched this year, because he's had some favorable matchups. Now he has to face the Padres today, and Grant Holmes is getting the easy pass from everybody. Everyone's tired of playing him from the easy matchups, but I don't hate that call. I don't think it's crazy on a slate like this where there's not a ton of pitching to get super excited about, especially if Fried is in any type of risk. Again, we'll keep an eye on that status. But Tim, anything else from you at pitcher?
Yeah, we did get a question in chat from Scott pitching on FanDuel. There's 4 guys that are 10K or above. Fried is actually the most expensive at 11K. Obviously, the matchup's fantastic, but I would prefer going down a little bit to Valdez or Wu, and then also Michael King's 10K. So on FanDuel, I'd rank it Valdez, King, Wu, and then Fried. And if you're playing cash on FanDuel, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Framber Valdez for me at 10 too.
I agree with the Valdez call for cash, and then I think for tournaments on FanDuel, I'd actually go Michael King 1, just because I think he's going to be the forgotten guy. With maybe Wu 2, just due to the lower ownership. But I think on FanDuel, I really like the idea of going down to a Jack Leiter, Grant Holmes, even Quinn Priester at $7,200. Projecting for 1% ownership. I think that's very viable on this slate where it's entirely possible no pitcher has more than 28 FanDuel points.
You never know on slates like these, and certainly something like that would give you all the money you want to spend up for bats. The question is whether or not we want to use all that salary today. Obviously, if you're wanting to play the Yankees at Coors Field, that becomes a discussion for sure. And like I said, we're going to transition here and try to do this tiers thing on a Saturday show for the first time. So this is my first experience with it. Obviously, I've watched Dean do it a few times, but TJ's got the keys. He knows what we're doing for the tiers. He's producing the show today. So TJ, how you want to kick this off?
All right. So I really did enjoy what we did on Crunch Time the other day with Roth, where we will take turns from game to game with each of you ranking the stacks and what tier you would put them in. So if Tim goes first, he will rank the 2 stacks. Justin, you will get to choose one of the 2 to veto and move up or down 1 tier. So we can't move them entirely, can't move both of them, but you get to pick one of his. If they're both fine, you can leave them, but you get to pick one of his to move up or down a tier. Then the next game will be you, of course, who ranks the 2 of them, and Tim will get veto power to move up or down a tier. For the list today, I got some hot takes in there. I need to preface this, that this is not a general consensus tier list. This is my favorite tier list.
So this is we need a disclaimer on the scroll bar now. These are not the opinions of RotoGrinders.
These are not the opinions of RotoGrinders. These are not the opinions of chat. These are just the opinions of TJ. And on the idea from Tim to keep it on the food and drink side of things, I went with just my favorite drinks, straight up. If I'm thirsty and I want to drink, what am I going with? And so that's where we get this tier list from. My number 1, my favorite thing is a nice vitamin water. If you're a fan of the show, you watch it lots, you're going to see me having these quite a bit. And so I'm going with the vitamin water. No, this is not an ad. We are not being paid for this, but vitamin water, if you want to send me free ones, I have no problem with that whatsoever. Number 2, Powerade. I love a nice thirst-quenching Powerade. I will say if I'm playing a sport and I want something that will, keep me going while I'm playing the sport and not have me cramping up, things like that, Gatorade, way better than Powerade. It's got more salt, less sugar. But if I just want something sweet and thirst quenching, a nice Powerade. Chocolate milk in the 3rd tier, because I do love a glass of chocolate milk, but time and a place. Time and a place for chocolate milk. You're not going to be, just super thirsty mid-run taking a swig of chocolate milk because that's not going to go well. I actually did that when I was a little kid once. I didn't realize that drinks were different. I thought like liquid was just liquid. You drink it when you're thirsty. And so I had a big 1 liter black water bottle that you couldn't see through. And I fill it up and I filled it up with chocolate milk for a soccer game when I was a little kid. And I just had the worst second half ever because I was cramping up the entire time. Coca-Cola, number 3. I'm not a soda guy. I'm not a pop guy. I like ginger ale, but I'm not big on carbonated drinks that much. And Coca-Cola in general, not for me. I got it near the bottom. I also don't like coffee. I will drink coffee if I can get some cream and some sugar in it. I need some kind of caffeine to pick me up. I'm like my guy Stevie. I prefer matcha over coffee. But just straight black coffee, can't do it. Coffee is last on my list.
I'm not a coffee guy either, so I'm fine with that being last. But as I take a drink of my Diet Coke that I have most of the time, I'll abstain from moving the tiers. I'd put the Coke ahead of the chocolate milk, but I don't have a major qualm with the list. I think it's fine.
Tim, what do you think? You're a coffee guy, aren't you?
Yeah, coffee would be my number 1. Not even really close.
Coffee's either first or last for everybody.
Yeah.
You either drink it or you don't.
Yeah, coffee definitely the number 1. And it really vitamin water and Powerade depend on which flavor for me. So that's kind of a tough one. I'm fine with chocolate milk in the 3 spot. I'm fine with Coca-Cola in the 4 spot.
Where's water at? I guess water would probably be my number 1. I do like vitamin water. One of the reasons I like it so much is because it's like it feels like it's sweet and it's tasty, but it's also not as sweet as like a juice or something like that. But I guess water, just straight water, would definitely be my number 1. I don't like any drinks really. I guess I could have added them there. I don't really like any drinks that are no sugar drinks. Like the taste of the fake sugar, I just don't really doesn't sit right with me. But let's get into some baseball talk. Start doing some tiers. First game on the slate. I forgot to switch into announcer mode, but now we are here. And so the first game on the slate, the San Francisco Giants going to face the Washington Nationals. Tim, you're up first. Where are you ranking these teams?
I think projections don't really mind Jake Irvin today, but I kind of disagree. It's the Giants have a 4.71 implied team total, which is pretty good for this slate outside of obviously the Yankees. So I think, and I don't think they're going to be very highly owned either. So I think I'm going to put the Giants, I guess in chocolate milk. But I really wouldn't mind just given the low projected ownership. I wouldn't mind going a little bit higher, but I think chocolate milk for San Francisco, and then Washington.
Am I blind? Do you guys see San Francisco here?
Yeah, it's a big Giants with a baseball in the second row towards the right-hand side.
Second row to the right. Yeah. So put the Giants in chocolate milk, and then I'll go Washington. I kind of like them for one-offs. I don't know about like a full stack. I guess I'm going to put them in chocolate milk as well.
We do have an answer from Roth. He says, officially, I don't know. A chance of delay is possible at any time. Maybe a storm fires over the ballpark. Maybe they miss. We don't know. And that's kind of the case when it's thunderstorms, right? It's not a batch of rain is for sure going to be over the ballpark at this time. If there's a bunch of storm clouds, something might pop, something may not. So I think probably best to roll for DK Cash, Valdez, and Wu. For FanDuel Cash, Valdez, and then just you can play Fried for tournaments just because you may get him totally scot-free, but I'd probably avoid for cash. I'm not going any Max Fried today. I'm just going to avoid the potential weather risk because I don't think enough people are going to adapt and fade him. I think he's still probably going to be pretty chalky. And so that's usually how I like to handle weather. If somebody's chalky, fade it. If they're not, play it. If it's a 50-50 situation. So I think we probably want to fade those guys. Where'd you have the Nationals? Sorry, Tim.
I'd go chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk for both these teams. Cards. Would you like to bump them up or down?
Yeah, I mean, Tim's got to take a stand somewhere. We just can't put everybody in the middle. I agree with the take. I think based on the words that Tim mentioned about the Giants, he wanted to put the Giants in Powerade. I think he did. And I concur. I think, Irvin's metrics aren't that spectacular. Nobody ever loves to stack the Giants for whatever reason. Not that the park in Washington is great, but it's better than the park in San Francisco. You're getting guys at 10, 8, 7% ownership. Yastrzemski's got pretty good splits against righties. Chapman, Flores led the league in RBIs for most of the year. So I think this Giants team, with the ownership factored in as a stack, I like them today. Let's move the Giants up one, and that's are fine where they're at.
All right, on to the next game. We are going to Pittsburgh. Milwaukee Brewers facing the Pittsburgh Pirates. Cards, the ranking goes to you.
Oh, joy. Not the most exciting game. I don't think you're getting a number 1 seed type of team here. I bet the Pirates to win today, full disclosure. It doesn't feel great, but I can't in good conscience rank the Brewers ahead of them, because the Brewers have just, 4 shutouts in the last couple weeks. They haven't looked good. They got walked off last night. The Brewers just haven't looked great. Mitch Keller hasn't ever really turned into an ace. He had a few good months last year. Still think he's maybe better than the surface stuff would suggest. But Milwaukee, the bottom of that lineup just isn't all that exciting. And the Pirates, their offense is just blah. I do really like O'Neal Cruz today, and if Chief were on, he'd remind us that Priester is just really, really bad. But I can't in good conscience put the Pirates in one of the top 2 tiers, because they're just not that good overall. So in what is probably the ceiling for the Pirates outside of a game in Coors Field, we're going to put them in chocolate milk today. And I just really don't love the upside for Milwaukee in that park against Keller, who rarely gets blown up. So we're going to put the Brewers in Coca-Cola and the Pirates in chocolate milk, but probably not a top tier stack here.
Tim, how about you? Any vetoes here for Pittsburgh or Milwaukee?
I'm actually going to go up 1 with the Pirates, believe it or not.
Oh, man. Here we go.
Yeah, they
Raise
are one of
Jolly Roger.
They are one of my favorites fill-in stacks, around the Yankees. So favorite 3-man, maybe just a mini 2-man or something like that. Or if we want to go a 4-4 Pirates Yankees, something like that. They are so ridiculously cheap. Quinn Priester is just so bad. Very, very low K rate, high walks. We know that walks can lead to runs. So it's the Pirates are just really, really cheap here, outside of O'Neal Cruz. So I think they have an over 4 implied run total here. So I really like the Pirates. They're currently 3-man stack for me in single entry.
All right. Well, we still have another game with the exact. I feel like my announcer voice is not on par today. I don't know what I'm missing. It doesn't have the same pizzazz that it usually does. Let me try this again. Next game on the slate, we got another team with 4.25 implied totals. We got the San Diego Padres facing off against the Atlanta Braves. Tim, it goes to you first. Where are you putting these 2 teams?
So I was really thinking that I was going to like some, stuff offensively in this matchup, but both teams are incredibly expensive. They're really, really pricey. Mike King and Grant Holmes, they really aren't gas cans at all. So this game, I got to very little in Sims, and I don't really like them when I was hand building either, just because of the prices. Now, both teams are very, very talented, so you have to give them some credit there. You could use this game as a little one-off, use a Ronald Acuna as a one-off, Fernando Tatis as a one-off, but really as stacks go, I'm getting to very little of this game overall. So despite the talent here, I'm going to put both these teams in the Coca-Cola tier.
All right, both teams down in Coca-Cola. I feel very similarly about the Padres. I might like Atlanta a little bit more. Cards, how about you? Any veto to either of these teams in Coca-Cola?
Yeah, I generally think they're okay there, but this Atlanta offense has got to get going at some point, and Acuna hit that bomb to start the game last night, and then of course they did absolutely nothing the rest of the day. But we have seen on random occasion when his control goes a little sideways, we have seen King have, underwhelming days from time to time. It's not, the safest thing by any means, but in terms of ceiling, I do think that when you compare that to their ownership today, right now we've got every Brave not named Acuna under 5% owned. We know the ceiling's there, so I'm gonna bump the Braves up to chocolate milk. I don't have a lot of them either. Probably could have left them.
That's so funny. Gonna bump the Braves up to chocolate milk.
Yeah, so we'll do that, but no real qualms with those.
2 teams in the Powerade chocolate milk and Coca-Cola tiers so far. We have no one in vitamin water or black coffee. Next up, I bet that'll change with this game. We got the Rangers going into Chicago to face the White Sox. Tim, board's yours. No, cards. Board's yours.
Look, the White Sox just belong in black coffee every day. I challenged Tim to try to make a case for upgrading the White Sox on anything. So I'll throw that out there. If Tim wants to upgrade the White Sox and make a case for it, he can, but I'll throw them in the designated bucket for them. I mean, you look at their games, the White Sox have scored double-digit runs twice this season from my quick glance, and 0 times since April 26th, which was at that joke of a park in Sacramento or wherever the A's are playing right now. So, not really feeling the White Sox at home, even though Leiter hasn't been as good as advertised. The trickier part here is Texas, a team that all year long, they just have not lived up to expectations. Seager's out again, but now they're pretty cheap. I mean, everybody not named Wyatt Langford is pretty affordable these days, and Josh Young and Adolis Garcia and Haggerty's leading off, and these guys have some pop. Bryce Wilson, it was supposed to be Jonathan Cannon. Now it's Bryce Wilson. I think that's actually probably a downgrade for the White Sox with Wilson pitching. I mean, how high can you put Texas? Well, they've got the second highest implied total on the slate. I could make a case for them probably in tier 2 or tier 3. I'll put them in Powerade, and we'll see what Tim has to say. But I don't really have a strong take on Texas. They're just so hard to gauge. That White Sox pitching staff is so bad. So, yeah, we'll put Texas in Powerade. We'll put the White Sox in black coffee.
Tim, any vetoes for Texas or the White Sox from yourself or potentially from Roscoe?
Yeah, I don't think either one of us has any vetoing motivation here. I was going to put Texas in the vitamin water tier. I just think they're going to end up getting really, really steamed here. So if you're not playing the Yankees, I think a lot of people are going to be clicking on Texas. So just be aware of that. They are projectors for some pretty high ownership. They have really been not great so far this year. Guys like Jock Peterson have massive pinch hit risk. So they are going to be pretty highly owned here. So just be paying attention to that. But that doesn't mean they're a bad play.
Cards? No, just kidding. We are on to the next game, which is another Chicago team. We got the Cubs going into the Great American Ballpark to face the Reds. Tim, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so I thought Justin did a really good job breaking down this game in his covering the bases article on RotoGrinders today. Andrew Abbott has been pretty lucky so far this season, despite his good service numbers. And this Chicago team is just top to bottom, super talented. I don't think a lot of people are going to play the Cubs today. And they're, like I said, they're a super talented team. They've got a lot of pop. I know that they're a little bit pricey, like guys like Tucker, guys like PCA. But if people are just going to be staying away from this Chicago Cubs team, I would want to get to a lot of this team in large field GPPs. So I'm going to put the Cubs in Powerade just because I think that they're going to be pretty contrarian. And I do like them a lot today. Cincinnati, I don't know. I think this lineup outside of like De La Cruz, it's not great. Colin Ray really has no upside, but he's not a horrible pitcher. So I'm going to put Cincinnati, I think, in the Coca-Cola tier.
Cincinnati going down in Coca-Cola. Cards. Any vetoes on either of these two teams?
I don't think so. At their salaries, Abbott's been good enough to where I don't think I can bump the Cubs all the way up to the top. Certainly their offense is capable of exploding at any time. But Abbott's been good enough to where, I'm still being a little bit stubborn here, not really respecting him for the 30% Ks and the 1 whatever ERA, but he's not as good as that would indicate. I'm going to leave those alone.
Next game on the slate, we're going to Coors Field with a potential weather concern. I don't know. I feel like I'm like a horse race announcer now. I lost what I had, guys. I think I'm just going to go with my.
I don't know what you had because I wasn't on the last time, so
it was beautiful.
I have no comparison.
Deep announcer voice. Some people were.
Michael King scratched.
Ooh.
Sean Reynolds will start for the Padres.
Sean Reynolds.
Who is Sean Reynolds?
The only Reynolds I remember is the dude that pitched for the Astros in like the 90s. Who was the guy that pitched for the Astros in the 90s? I can't think of his first. Shane Reynolds. The Astros had a guy named Shane Reynolds in the 90s. Quick finding Sean Reynolds Fangraphs page here to see what we've got. He is 27. He has
is stretched out. Doesn't look like it.
It does not look like it. He's been pitching out of the bullpen. 6.43 ERA in 7 innings. Minor league numbers. Pretty high strikeout rate. Really high walk rate. Probably a bullpen game. Maybe he's probably only going a couple innings. Gotta bump the Braves up now. Throw the Braves up a tier.
Pop the Braves up a tier.
I almost feel like we should bump up Atlanta and take down Texas. But
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Take Texas
I'm interested
down.
in what's the most pitches he's thrown in the minors this year or recently?
So
I wouldn't care other than the fact that he's 4K.
He hasn't started a game since 2024, and last year he only started 3 games and he only threw 54 innings. So those were like opener spots. He's never been a starter.
Okay, then yeah, not playing him. Just a full-on bullpen game for the Braves today. Let's talk some Coors Field. Whose turn is it to rank?
It would be mine. So fairly easy with throwing the Yankees in vitamin water. The only question would be ownership. To be fair, if you want to make a case against the Yankees, they aren't quite as great in totality against lefties. Obviously, they've got guys that are good against lefties, but and Kyle Freeland's xFIP is like 3.9, so he hasn't been horrendous, but he's also winless. And it's Coors, and it's the Yankees, and the bullpen behind him is horrible. So, look, the only case you're making against the Yankees, their implied total is 7 runs. It's just whether you think the ownership is deserving on whether or not you want to stack them. But based on the numbers, they're in the top tier, obviously. The Rockies at home, there's always potential because it's Coors, and sometimes, let's say there's a rain delay for an hour and Fried only goes a couple innings. We saw it with the Dodgers game last night. Kershaw and Griffin Canning both got pulled after a couple innings with a long rain delay. So I'll put him in Coca-Cola, I guess. If Tim wants to move the Rockies, I'm not going to argue whether you move them all the way down or you move them up a tier just because it's Coors. Like, it's a personal preference thing. I'm not stacking them today. It's just even in that park with the way their lineup currently is constructed, it's just tough for me to see this being a day that they go off for 12 runs or something.
Tim, what do you think? I actually think I like the Rockies a little bit better. They would probably be a tier 4 or tier 3 team for me, but how about you?
No, I'm going to stick with what Justin did here on both these teams, so I'm not going to veto anything. I am playing a full Yankee stack today, so I'm going to be eating the chalk. We're just going to try to get a little bit different with my 3-man or like a one-off here. But I am playing Yankees 5-man today. I have not been playing. I did not play them yesterday, but I'm gonna hop on board today. So they are the top stat for me, and then I'm gonna leave Colorado in the Coca-Cola tier.
All right, next game we have a lot less offense. We got Seattle at Houston. Valdez versus Wu. Tim, floor is yours. Either of these teams going to creep out of the bottom tier today?
I think they both have enough offensive talent to not be in the black coffee tier. But the pitching matchups for both these teams are pretty tough. So both Seattle and Houston are going to go in the Coca-Cola tier for me.
Seattle and Houston both in the Coca-Cola tier. Cards, what do you think? Any vetoes?
No, I mean, I think Seattle's offense has an pop and upside to where they're justified there. I mean, Houston's implied team total is 3.5. Wu doesn't walk anybody. That entire lineup is right-handed. I don't see Houston getting there today. And yeah, the whole construct of their team is so bad right now that I'm going to move them down out of punishment more than anything. So throw Houston down with the White Sox, and they can go where they belong. If the fans don't like it, they can beat their trash cans in disbelief at my take. But there we go.
Careful, Chop muted somebody for making a trash can joke the other day on a show. But Cards,
it's in jest, all in jest.
Back to you. Last game on the slate: Baltimore and Boston. Not available on FanDuel. Probably won't get these lineups before lock. I haven't checked if we just did, but my assumption would be that we will not get it before lock.
Yeah, the first game is 5-5 in the 7th, so that first game is kind of just going to be wrapping up as rosters lock. So obviously the lineups will be out before the game itself locks, but not before all the other games lock.
All right. Well, where do you got these two teams ranked in tiers today?
I think this is a super interesting game. It's a 9.5 run total. As I mentioned, the first game is 5-5 in the 7th. So both teams are probably going to be using some of their better relievers here in the first game. You don't love to use your best relievers twice in one day. So we could have, we know the Baltimore pitching staff is horrible. If they end up using some of their better guys in the first game, and the second game is like Trevor Rogers as an opener and possibly Charlie Morton, who's been like the worst pitcher in baseball. And nobody's going to be playing these guys because the lineups aren't out yet. And I mean, Boston at home against Baltimore against potentially a few innings of Charlie Morton, at almost no ownership, you couldn't really ask for a better script than that. So I think Boston goes all the way to the top. I think they're the best pivot away from the Yankees. If you are looking to do that, and just make sure you're checking the lineup. Baltimore, they've been an enigma all year long, but so is Lucas Giolito. It's mainly the pitching that has been an issue for Baltimore. I probably tend to be higher on them than most almost all the time. I'll try to keep that in check just a little bit. I mean, I know Tim likes Giolito a little bit as a punt pitcher. I'm just going to put Baltimore in the middle. Let's put them in chocolate milk. But I definitely do think the Red Sox belong at the top.
Tim, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing multiple teams today, get exposure to this game. I think this is going to be kind of a forgotten game. I do agree with Justin that I absolutely love Boston as a pivot away from the Yankees. So I agree with Boston in the vitamin water tier. I do kind of like Giolito today, or else I would put the Orioles in the Powerade tier. But because I kind of like Giolito for his price, I'm fine with leaving Baltimore in the chocolate milk tier. But If you don't like Giolito today, then obviously get to more Baltimore.
I do like Giolito today. I am getting to, let's see how much, 25% Lucas Giolito, but Baltimore is also my highest owned stack. They are a tier 1 team for me today. I have it Baltimore 1, Boston 2, Atlanta 3, Texas 4, Colorado 5 for my MME build right now, with the Yankees actually 6 as a full stack. But I am still getting to a ton of Aaron Judge and Paul Goldschmidt. So Aaron Judge is my second highest owned hitter behind Jackson Holiday. So I actually do feel pretty good about that one. We have gone through all of the stacks. Time to switch it back over to position by position. Then we'll get some home run calls cards. It's all you, my friend.
Yeah, we got about 23 minutes left until locks, so we'll just take a few minutes to go through each position. We'll go through the questions, and we'll get out of here. So we'll pitching again. Some people may be coming in a little bit late. If you are, Michael King has been scratched, so don't play him today. That basically leaves us with Wu, Valdez, and Fried as a top trio. Valdez seems to be the consensus as the top guy. Fried was the top projected guy most of the day. There is a little bit of a weather concern there. So, Valdez is probably a little bit safer at this stage. I still think Fried is fine, but for those of you that, and Wu is certainly fine as well. If you're looking for pitcher takes, I mean, you can punt if you want with a lower level guy. Jack Leiter is probably the safest kind of cash game punt. If you are just catching up on pitching, that's a quick summary of that. And now we'll let the guys go through the other positions. Tim, you want to start off the catcher?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's probably going to be, where did he go? Well, there's a couple different decisions to be had, I think, at catcher. I do think that Austin Wells is a little bit too expensive for cash games, but he's obviously fine in GPPs. Adley Rutschman at 4,200, but again, we're not going to have that lineup, so he might not be catching, but his price is really nice. Connor Wong, again, he's been priced, but we don't know that lineup. So these are all guys that you can consider for cash games. I don't mind going all the way down to Henry Davis. I do like that Pirates team quite a bit, so I don't mind punting with him. If you wanted to play a one-off, I don't really like the Brewers today, but I think William Contreras is completely fine for like a one-off.
TJ, what do you like at catcher today?
Drake Baldwin is going to be my favorite now that we have that bullpen game for the Padres. So Baldwin batting second today for Atlanta. Really, really like him. Likely to get 5 at-bats in what should be a strong offensive game now. Obviously, we don't know for sure, but we certainly can hope with a last-second pitcher scratch that we should see a lot of offense. So Baldwin number 1 for me. I got Heim number 2. Absolutely love Hunter Goodman for tournaments today. Even if Fried is in there for the whole 5 or 6 innings, Goodman could still blast a home run off of him. He hits lefties really well. Plus, we could end up seeing a bullpen game for the Yankees too in Coors Field if a storm pops up over that one. So like Hunter Goodman, and then Connor Wong, Austin Wells, Adley Rutschman, same guys Tim mentioned.
All right. I'm attempting to edit some things here on my end to get a little bit more Atlanta as well for those circumstances that we talked about. So certainly an upgrade for those guys over where they were projecting earlier in the day. TJ, what do you like at first base?
Jake Berger, my number 1 guy by far. Super cheap, hitting the ball really well. He would be 4,500 if he hadn't had that cold stretch earlier in the year and got sent down. Now he seems to have figured it out. So I want to keep playing him until he gets priced up. So he is my number 1 by a fairly wide margin. Then it is Paul Goldschmidt and the 2 Baltimore guys, Ryan O'Hearn and Ryan Mountcastle. Don't mind Spencer Horowitz as a full-out punt. And then I like Togglia and Olsen as well.
Tim, what do you got at first base?
Yeah, obviously I love that Jake Berger call. The Rangers are really, really cheap on FanDuel. So, I mean, he's like a cash game play. really on both sites, but definitely on FanDuel. I obviously love Paul Goldschmidt. 3,800 on FanDuel, 5,300 on TK, batting leadoff. So I mean, I really don't mind him at all. Matt
I think that's
Olson.
one of the tougher cash game decisions on DK today, by the way, with how well Goldschmidt hits left-handed pitching and how cheap Berger is. Like, it's one of the things where on DK having that, or on FanDuel having that utility spot helps, but on DK it's a tough choice whether this is a spot where you want to save in cash games or get up to Goldie.
Yeah, I mean it really is. On FanDuel, I'm playing Burger. It's a little bit. I'm not really sure what to do on DK. You're absolutely right. It is kind of a tough decision. I
Especially
still think
Goldschmidt's like the best priced Yankee. Like he's the most appropriately priced Yankee from all the like Coors Field bumps that they've gotten. 53 for Goldschmidt. That's not even that crazy for him facing a lefty outside of Coors.
Yeah, I mean it's a super tough decision. I personally think that you should probably play Goldschmidt, but it's not an easy decision. I really like Matt Olson now a lot more than I did before. So I mean he's a really good pivot off of Goldschmidt. He's going to go, I think, pretty underowned. Right now we have Goldie around 20 and Olson around 4%. So I mean I think that's a great pivot just to use as a one-off. Like I said, Burgers are cheap option. Ryan Mountcastle is another really strong cheap option. Spencer Horwitz batting cleanup at 2,200. If you really wanted to go like full 5-man Yankees with all the expensive bats, you could conceivably use him as a one-off.
Yeah, and again, keep in mind if you want to play guys like a Mountcastle from the Orioles, just keep an eye out for the lineups there for Game 2. Which we certainly aren't going to have by 4:05 when the other games lock. And with that, let's go ahead and move to second, Tim.
Yeah, so I would love to be able to play Jackson Holiday in cash, and I think you should use him. And then keep the $200 extra maybe in that team. And if he doesn't play, you could play Christian Campbell or you could play David Hamilton. So I would just start with Jackson Holiday in your cash games, and then you can pivot to one of those two guys if you keep that $200 on that team. It's pretty easy to do that, I think. So he's definitely like my favorite overall second baseman. And then there are guys for GPPs like I don't mind Bryce Terang. I don't mind Jake Cronenworth. I guess DJ LeMahieu was fine, but I'm only going to be playing him if I'm stacking up the Yankees.
Yeah, he's the one cheap guy that he can help make that full stack work if you're doing that. TJ, what do you got at second?
Jackson Holiday, the number one guy for me as well. He is my highest owned bat on the slate. Christian Campbell, number 2, both guys in that game. And then I'm getting to Tyler Freeman. Like I said, I'm quite overweight on this Rocky stack today. So getting some Tyler Freeman, a little bit of DJ LeMahieu. I like Bryce Terang at this spot. And then don't mind Nico Horner as well anytime he's facing a lefty.
Yeah, he's a pest at the plate too. Sees a ton of pitches. I don't love the Cubs at their salaries, but Horner isn't quite to the premium as some of the other guys, especially with Kelly not in there today. So I like him a good bit. All right, TJ, let's move to third base.
Really easy position here today. I think if you want to spend down, it's Josh Young. If you want to spend up, it's Rafael Devers. 2 of my favorite bats on the entire slate. Only other guys I have interest in are Ramon Urias, assuming he is in a good lineup spot. Matt Chapman I like quite a bit today, and then Austin Riley is kind of the entirety of my third base group. And then Abraham Toro for a full out punt, assuming he's in the lineup.
All right, Tim, what do you got at third?
Yeah, Josh Young is definitely your cash game guy on both sites. Really easy to fit. So he's my favorite. I don't mind Matt Chapman as like a GPP one-off. Obviously Devers is great too. Peraza batting ninth for that Yankees team. He's 3,400. It's good, place to spend if you're stacking the Yankees. I like that Toro call a lot at 2,100. I hope he does crack the lineup. And I don't mind Brian Hayes batting 6th today for the Pirates.
Part of that elite pirate stack, right?
Yeah, I hope they're elite.
That's like 5 runs for them. That's elite. But
I would be so happy with that.
we're good with 5. All right. Again, if you got questions, now's the time to start throwing them in. We prefer them in the RotoGrinders Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Don't have to be a premium subscriber to get access to that. So just drop your questions in the live stream chat channel. We'll pop open the YouTube if we have time as well. And take some questions in there. We've got shortstop, we've got outfield to go through, just a little bit over 10 minutes, so we should have time to get to those questions in just a couple of minutes. And with that, I believe Tim, third shortstop.
Yeah, so shortstop on FanDuel, it's definitely going to be O'Neal Cruz for me. He's 3,700, so I think he's an elite, very, very elite play. On DraftKings, it's a little bit harder. There's some great options up top: Ellie De La Cruz, Gunnar Henderson, Anthony Volpe. So I think it's going to be Volpe for cash for me. But any of the Cruz, Henderson, Swanson, Volpe, any of these top guys, I like quite a bit. Josh Smith is really cheap on FanDuel, but he's only 4K on DK, which is okay. So I think he's definitely in play. And then I guess I would add in David Hamilton, if you want somebody super, super cheap, but I would rather just pay up at short today.
TJ, what do you got at shortstop?
Gunnar Henderson is my favorite bats on the whole slate. Spidey Bomb number 1, scrolling right down there at the bottom. We'll get another one at 100 likes, third one at 150 likes. So keep hitting that like button. But Gunnar Henderson is the first one at plus 450 on FanDuel. He is my favorite bat on the slate. My highest owned there, followed by Trevor Story. Like I said, just getting a ton of guys in this game. Love him as a salary saver today. I think it's mostly going to be a bullpen game for Baltimore. They have a terrible bullpen, but the starter is the lefty who's been awful as well. So Trevor Story at only 3,500. My second favorite play behind Gunnar. Ezekiel Tovar and Ellie De La Cruz kind of in that next tier, followed by Dansby Swanson. Getting to a little bit of Volpe, a little bit of Abrams, and basically no one else.
All right. Go ahead and clean us up with outfield.
Aaron Judge going to be my highest owned outfielder today. One of the benefits of playing, ton of Holiday, ton of Berger, ton of Josh Young is you can afford the Aaron Judges, especially if because we don't really have any expensive pitchers today. So Aaron Judge is going to be my highest owned guy. I think he's pretty easy to pay up for today, even though he is all the way up at 7,100. Wyatt Langford, Ronald Acuna, Jarren Duran, Cedric Mullins. Bunch of guys I like spending up for. I'm mostly spending up in the outfield today. When I'm not, I'm looking at guys like Will Benson, Heliot Ramos, TJ Friedel, Sam Haggerty, Christian Yelich. But yeah, that's outfield for me today. Oh, and Yaz I like as a salary saver too. Mike Yastrzemski.
Yeah, I like the Giants a good bit. I think Yaz is a fine option today myself. All right, reminder before we get to questions about RG Combo Pro, the MLB DFS annual option, $425. However, we have dropped the price of our Combo Pro product to mirror that MLB annual package. Might as well get more stuff for the same price. Combo Pro 6-month gives you full access to all the content, tools, and projections for every sport except NASCAR at a cheaper price than the monthly package. You'd actually save about 35% by choosing the 6-month instead of monthly. So sign up now for MLB projections, NBA playoff content, PGA data, and more. And again, get those questions into the Discord. We've got 10 minutes left until lineup lock, and we'll hop on those questions. So pretty quiet in the Discord right now. I will pop open the YouTube. And TJ, where are we at for likes right now? Let's see.
Oh, I'm muted. Sorry. 20 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 2. I just want to just point out something in chat too. John was saying that he doubts Story plays on the second game of a doubleheader. And so I want to note that yesterday was scheduled to be the second game of a doubleheader. They played a game yesterday morning. They were supposed to play a game in the evening too. Story was in the lineup for that second game, and he was also in the lineup for the first game. The game ended up getting postponed, and they didn't play it. But he was in the lineup for that scheduled doubleheader yesterday. So I don't really see why he wouldn't be for this one unless he tweaked something in that game.
I am sorry, and I forgot to get Tim's outfield takes too. I was doing too many things at once there, trying to get the YouTube and the Discord all checked. And sorry, Tim.
That's all good.
Outfield takes.
Yeah, so I would definitely be spending up for Aaron Judge and cash. I really like O'Neal Cruz today. I just bet O'Neal Cruz plus 400 to hit a homer today. I also bet Brian Reynolds to hit a homer today at plus 800. Those are both on DraftKings. I love all the Yankees outfielders. Obviously, they're fantastic. I think some good GPP pivots off of the Yankees outfielders would be guys like Kyle Tucker, O'Neal Cruz, Wyatt Langford as well, Ronald Acuna. So there's quite a few sped up options in the outfield. Brian Reynolds and Sam Haggerty are my two kind of cheaper outfielders that you can play in cash games.
All right. The YouTube chat is devolving into Dean has hijacked the YouTube chat, asking Tim to apologize. Nobody likes the same team to keep winning all the time. And I got to say, I stand with Tim on this one. I don't have anything against the Panthers, but, I'll be rooting for the Oilers or the Stars or the Hurricanes, if they can make a comeback. But, Tim, you need some people in your corner. So I got you.
We actually don't allow Dean in the NHL Discord for that reason.
He's banned. He's muted.
Yeah, he ruins everything.
A few people have come in late asking for GPP pitchers on DraftKings. I'll let you both just briefly touch on that. TJ, what are your GPP pitching takes with the slate now that King is scratched and Frieda's a question mark?
Valdez and Wu are going to be my two highest owned, but I did just make like a single entry style team, and I went with Jack Leiter and Grant Holmes, and I like it a lot.
That's a YOLO option in GPPs today. I don't hate that. Tim, DK GPP takes pitchers?
Yeah, so definitely Wu and Valdez are completely fine. I do like Lucas Giolito in GPPs. I like that Grant Holmes call too. Again, I think Jack Leiter is definitely in play just due to the matchup.
All right, got a couple questions coming in the Discord. Alexander, DK cash outfield. I'll throw this one to you, Tim. $2,800 or less, so we're punting. DraftKings outfielder, should I talk to a little Canario for Tim's Pirates love? Or
I don't love that for cash games, to be honest with you. I'm fine with doing that in like a GPP, but
let's see who we got at 2,800 or less. We've got
that's the thing. There's
not much.
I would almost be tempted to maybe attempt a rebuild, but if you absolutely can't, I'm fine with Canario.
All right, yeah, there's not much at that 2,100. BJ Adam is asking for an outfielder at 4,800 or less on DraftKings for cash games. TJ, you got a take there? Would be Friedel, Ian Happ, Cedric Mullins, Ozuna now maybe in the conversation.
I would go Ozuna now, actually.
Yeah, I think Ozuna's actually in play now.
I was looking at the bat projections and like the best. Like I was looking at Mullins, who I like, but he doesn't project very well. And projections would for the bat projections would say Churio or Yelich, but I don't think it's adapted yet for that bullpen game, or at least not since I've refreshed. So yeah, I would definitely go Ozuna there.
Let's see. And Mullins was in the lineup for the first game, so you run the risk of if he's not in there for the second game, you have to go down to O'Hearn or somebody else. So I like.
Got $100 more. I love Langford and Duran.
Would presume he probably doesn't, but
yeah.
Fried is not out. For those of you that the only risk with Fried is that there's potential rain mid-game, which could cause a delay, and that's the risk with Fried. So he's not out. Michael King is out, so make sure you're not using him. Let's see. Yeah, delay risk for Fried.
14 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 2. So hopefully after Tim gives some taters, we'll have another.
I I already gave my taters.
I missed it. Who was it?
Definitely O'Neal Cruz. I caught.
Oh,
Yeah,
O'Neal
O'Neal
Cruz.
Cruz. Yeah, O'Neal Cruz plus 400 and Brian Reynolds plus 800.
Mabs says DK single entry. Would you go with a bottom of the order Pirate stack or a bottom of the order White Sox stack? In which case, that sounds dreadful. But Tim and I are both on the Pirate ship today. Certainly would stack the Pirates over the White Sox, though that's a pretty low bar.
Yeah, I'm definitely higher on the Pirates than I am on the White Sox.
All right. DK Cash. This is a 3v3. TJ, you like Fried, Gunnar, and Benson, or Wu, Meadroth, and Churio?
I definitely don't like the Meadroth and Churio one, but Fried scares me for cash with the potential weather risk as well.
But you can get to Valdez or Wu around the similar price. Assume you don't. I mean, you obviously don't. He doesn't have.
Yeah, I would say don't play Fried, but I don't like you're not playing the White Sox guy at shortstop when there's Ellie De La Cruz, Anthony Volpe, and Coors against the lefty, Gunnar Henderson, even Ezekiel Tovar. Like I don't think you can play the cheap White Sox guy in cash in that scenario. So I would say try and get off Fried, but don't play the Meadroth Churio side.
A good question from Blink 182 Rue in the Discord that says DK large field. I'll handle this one because we've kind of talked through circumstance. LeMahieu and Matt Shaw or Peraza and a risky Jackson Holiday. Worried Holiday won't play game 2. So I think it was Tim that hinted at this earlier. Just save a couple extra $100 in that lineup. And at worst case scenario, if Jackson Holiday doesn't start, you can get up to Christian Campbell. And Christian Campbell did not start the first game. He pinch hit in the first game and just came in the late innings. That game is still tied at 5, by the way. So again, the teams are starting to go through their better relievers. So makes me like the bats in that game even more. So I would leave yourself a little bit of cushion. I'd stick with the Holiday pairing, but try to leave an extra couple $100 to where if there's a problem, then you've got enough to get up to Christian Campbell as a pivot in that same game.
It's tough too because I don't think the Orioles ever actually came out with a lineup yesterday. So it's like the Red Sox
before the second game was postponed.
Yeah, the Red Sox, we were able to look at that. They had a second game lineup and we can go, okay, they're probably going to do something similar to this because it's the exact same situation as yesterday. But with Baltimore, we don't even have that to look at.
Correct. So good call there. Even though Giolito was supposed to be pitching last night and he's the one that's pitching tonight, we don't have that hint from
I'll
yesterday.
interrupt for a quick tweet from Kevin Ross. He says, moments until lock. A few shower storms going up. Still nothing too scary looking, but a reminder, one of those little guys could pop up anywhere at roughly any time involving Coors Field. So definitely still think you can play Max Fried for tournaments. It doesn't look like there's anything overly threatening, but with Valdez and Wu being almost the same play for almost the same prices, I think you definitely just get off of Fried in cash. Would you agree, Tim?
Yeah, I wouldn't be playing Fried in cash. I think it's just Valdez and Wu for cash games.
All right, and with that, we are at the lock. Again, hit that thumbs up button before you leave. Didn't get up to 100, but hopefully we can get there before the stream ends. But always appreciate you tuning in on the weekend. Appreciate the dual efforts of Tim and TJ on the weekends. And for them, for Tim, for TJ, I'm Justin. We hope you all have a great Memorial Day weekend. Stay safe and enjoy the sports out there, everybody. We'll be back. At least I'll be back tomorrow. I'm not sure who's on with me tomorrow, but the usual couple members of the usual weekend crew will be back hanging out with you tomorrow. So for Tim and TJ, I'm Justin. Peace out. Have a good weekend, everybody. Take care.